My friends, I need you to stop what you're doing right now and listen carefully, because what I'm about to share with you could put an extra $400 in your pocket this year, and I don't want you to miss out on a single penny that's rightfully yours. Now, I know what you're thinking when you see that number, $1,400, and your mind probably goes straight to those stimulus checks we got during the pandemic. But let me be crystal clear with you right from the start. This is not a stimulus payment. This is not some one-time government handout that's going to show up in your bank account next Tuesday. What this is, my friends, is something potentially even more valuable, and here's why. This $1,400 represents the approximate annual increase that some Social Security, SSI, and SSDI recipients could see in their benefits when you add up all the changes, adjustments, and little-known credits that came into effect recently. And here's the thing that breaks my heart. I've talked to so many folks, good people just like you, who are leaving money on the table every single month because they simply don't know about these changes or don't understand how to make sure they're getting every dollar they've earned. So I'm sitting down with you today, just like we're at your kitchen table with a cup of coffee, and I'm going to walk you through exactly what this $1,400 figure means, who qualifies, how it breaks down month by month, and most importantly, what you need to do to make absolutely certain you're not being shortchanged. Now, before we dive into the details, let me paint you a picture of what $1,400 actually means in real life. That's nearly $117 extra every single month. For many of you watching this, that's the difference between choosing between your medications and your groceries. That's a full tank of gas every week. That's being able to take your grandkids out for ice cream without worrying about your bank balance. That's covering that Medicare Part B premium and still having money left over. So when I talk about this $1,400, I'm not just throwing numbers at you. I'm talking about real money that affects your real life every single day. Let's break down where this $2,400 figure actually comes from, because understanding the pieces will help you see the whole picture. First and foremost, we have the cost of living adjustment that went into effect this January. Depending on what your monthly benefit was last year, this COLA increase alone could add anywhere from $50 to $75 per month to your check. Now multiply that by 12 months and you're looking at $600 to $900 right there. But that's just the beginning. For those of you on SSI, there were also adjustments to the income limits and the resource limits that determine your eligibility and payment amount. These adjustments mean that some folks who were previously getting reduced payments because they were just over the income threshold are now getting their full benefit amount. That difference right there could be another $30 to $40 per month for affected individuals. Here's where it gets interesting, and this is where a lot of people miss out. Many Social Security recipients don't realize that there are certain deductions that can be removed from your benefit calculation if your circumstances have changed. Let me give you a real-life example. I was talking to a lovely woman named Margaret just last month. She's 67 years old, been on Social Security for a few years now. Margaret didn't know that when her husband passed away 2 years ago, she became eligible for survivor benefits that were actually higher than her own retirement benefit. She'd been collecting the wrong benefit for 24 months, leaving approximately $150 on the table every single month. That's $3,600 she didn't even know she was entitled to. Now, the good news is that Social Security can sometimes pay retroactive benefits, but you have to know to ask for them. This is exactly the kind of hidden money I'm talking about when I mentioned that $1,400 figure. For those of you on SSDI, there's another layer to this that you absolutely need to understand. If you've been on disability for a while, you might be approaching retirement age, and there's a transition that happens that could affect your payment amount. Some folks see their SSDI automatically convert to regular retirement benefits when they hit full retirement age. In most cases, the amount stays the same, but here's the catch. If you had been receiving dependent benefits on top of your SSDI, or if there were any earnings-related reductions that were being applied, these might change during that transition. I've seen cases where people's benefits actually went up by $50 to $80 per month after this conversion because certain penalties or reductions no longer applied. Over the course of a year, that's another $600 to $960. Now let's talk about something that affects a lot of you, and it's not pleasant, but you need to hear it. We have to discuss the reductions and offsets that could be eating away at your benefits without you fully understanding why. The windfall elimination provision and the government pension offset are two of the biggest culprits. If you worked for a federal, state, or local government job where you didn't pay into Social Security, but you also worked other jobs where you did pay in, these provisions can significantly reduce your Social Security benefits. I've met people who were expecting $200 a month and ended up getting only $700 because of WEP. The heartbreaking part is that many people don't find out about this until they're already retired and the first check comes in lower than expected. Now, there's been ongoing talk in Congress about repealing or modifying these provisions, and while I can't make any promises about legislation that hasn't passed, I can tell you this. If you think you might be affected by WEP or GPO, you need to contact Social Security directly and get a detailed explanation of how it's being applied to your specific situation. Sometimes, and I mean this, sometimes these provisions are applied incorrectly, and getting it corrected could put hundreds of dollars back in your monthly check. Let me shift gears and talk about taxes for a minute, because this is where a lot of folks get tripped up. Your Social Security benefits might be taxable depending on your total income. If you're single and your combined income is between $25,000 and $34,000, up to 50% of your benefits could be taxable. Above $34,000, up to 85% could be taxable. For married couples filing jointly, those thresholds are $32,000 and $44,000. Now here's the thing, many retirees don't realize that there are legal strategies to minimize this tax burden. For instance, if you have investments in a traditional IRA, those withdrawals count toward your combined income and could push you into the taxation zone. But if you had moved some of that money into a Roth IRA in earlier years, those Roth withdrawals don't count toward the income calculation. I know a gentleman named Robert who figured this out and restructured his withdrawals. He was able to reduce his taxable Social Security benefits and ended up keeping about $90 more per month that would have otherwise gone to taxes. That's over $1,000 a year just from being smart about which accounts to draw from. For my veterans watching this, we need to talk about your VA benefits and how they interact with Social Security. The good news is that VA disability compensation does not count as income for Social Security purposes, so it won't reduce your Social Security benefits. However, if you're receiving SSI, that's a different story. SSI is a needs-based program, and VA benefits can count as income that reduces your SSI payment. But here's something many veterans don't know. There's a VA benefit called Aid and Attendance that provides additional money for veterans who need help with daily activities. This benefit can be worth over $2,000 a month for a married veteran. And while it might affect your SSI if you're not on SSI, this is pure additional income on top of your Social Security. I've talked to veterans who had no idea this benefit existed, and they'd been eligible for years. Imagine missing out on $2,000 a month because you simply didn't know to apply. Let's get into some practical strategies to maximize your benefits, because knowledge is power, my friends, and I want you to have every advantage. First, if you haven't already started taking your Social Security benefits and you're trying to decide when to file, understanding the timing can make a massive difference in your lifetime benefits. For every year you delay taking Social Security past your full retirement age, up until age 70, your benefit increases by about 8%. That's guaranteed growth. Better than most investments. If your monthly benefit at full retirement age would be $1,500, waiting until 70 could boost that to around $1,860. That's an extra $360 per month or $4,220 per year. Now, I understand that not everyone has the luxury of waiting. Maybe you need the income now, maybe you have health concerns. But if you can afford to delay, it's worth seriously considering. Second, if you're married, there are claiming strategies that can maximize your household benefits. One spouse might claim early while the other delays, or you might be eligible for spousal benefits that are higher than your own. I met a couple, John and Linda, where Linda had worked part-time for most of her career while John had a full career. Linda's own Social Security benefit was only going to be about $800, but her spousal benefit, based on John's record, was $200. She didn't know she could claim the higher amount until someone helped her understand the rules. That's $400 a month they almost missed out on. Third, if you're on SSDI and you're thinking about trying to go back to work part-time, there are work incentives and trial work periods that allow you to test your ability to work without immediately losing your benefits. I've seen people afraid to take a part-time job that could bring in an extra $500 a month because they feared losing their $1,300 SSDI benefit. But Social Security has programs specifically designed to help people transition back to work gradually. There's a trial work period where you can earn any amount for up to 9 months without affecting your SSDI. After that, there's an extended period of eligibility where you can still receive benefits for months when your earnings are below a certain threshold. Understanding these rules could allow you to bring in additional income without jeopardizing your benefits. Now, I need to address something that causes a lot of confusion and anxiety: overpayments and clawbacks. Sometimes Social Security determines that they paid you more than you were entitled to, and they want that money back. This can happen for various reasons. Maybe your income changed and you didn't report it quickly enough. Maybe there was an error in their calculation, or maybe your living situation changed if you're on SSI. When Social Security decides you were overpaid, they will typically withhold your entire monthly benefit check until the overpayment is recovered, unless you make other arrangements. This is devastating for people living on fixed incomes. But here's what you need to know. You have rights. You can appeal the overpayment determination if you believe it's wrong. You can request a waiver if you weren't at fault, and paying it back would cause financial hardship. And you can request a repayment plan where they only withhold a portion of your monthly benefit instead of the entire amount. I helped a woman named Dorothy who was facing a $4,800 overpayment. She was terrified she'd lose her entire check for months. We helped her file for a waiver and a repayment plan, and ultimately Social Security agreed to reduce the overpayment amount and let her repay $50 per month instead of taking everything. Don't just accept these determinations without questioning them and exploring your options. Let me tie all of this together for you. When I talk about that $1,400 figure, what I'm really talking about is the total potential increase you could see in your annual income by taking advantage of the COLA increase, making sure you're claiming all the benefits you're entitled to, avoiding unnecessary reductions, minimizing your tax burden, and understanding how different income sources interact. For some of you, that number might be even higher. For others, it might be less. But the point is this: there is money available to you if you know where to look and how to claim it. Here's what I want you to do after watching this. First, log into your My Social Security account online, or create one if you haven't already. Look at your benefit statement and make sure the amount you're receiving matches what they say you should be getting. Second, if anything seems off or if you have questions, call Social Security directly or visit your local office. Yes, the wait times can be long, but this is your money we're talking about. Third, if you're a veteran, contact the VA and ask about any benefits you might be eligible for that you're not currently receiving. Fourth, talk to a tax professional about whether your benefits are being taxed and if there are legal ways to reduce that burden. And fifth, if you're married, sit down with your spouse and review your claiming strategy to make sure you're maximizing your household benefits. My friends, you worked hard your entire life. You paid into this system. You've earned these benefits. Don't leave money on the table out of confusion or lack of information. That $1,400 I mentioned at the beginning, it's not a fantasy. For many of you, it's very real money that could be coming your way if you take the right steps. And even if your personal increase is less than that, every single dollar matters when you're living on a fixed income. I want you to get every penny that's rightfully yours. Stay informed, ask questions, and don't be afraid to advocate for yourself. You deserve it.